The beta invitation Jackson read rubbed his tired eyes. The blue light from his monitor casting shadows across his cluttered apartment. Another night of debugging code for a social media platform that nobody needed. His 32nd birthday had come and gone last week with little fanfare. Just a text from his mother and an automated email from his dentist. The notification ping drew his attention. An email with the subject line: Exclusive beta test opportunity. Galactic Horizons. Dating experience. Delete, Jackson muttered, moving his cursor. But something in the message preview caught his eye. His specific qualifications as a programmer with gaming experience were mentioned. This wasn't a standard spam email. Curiosity won. He opened it. Mr. Reed, your specific neural pattern and programming expertise have qualified you for an exclusive opportunity to test the most advanced relationship simulation ever created. Compensation: $10,000 for a 72-hour immersion test. Jackson snorted. Right, and I'm the king of Mars. But he continued reading. The email came from Helix Dynamics, a legitimate tech company known for breakthrough virtual reality systems. They requested his presence at their research facility tomorrow morning. A car would pick him up. What do I have to lose? He asked his empty apartment. The walls didn't answer. The next morning, a sleek black car with tinted windows arrived precisely at 7 a.m. The driver, a woman with an unnaturally perfect posture, didn't speak during the entire hour-long drive to a facility nestled in the mountains. Welcome, Mr. Reed. Dr. Francesca Mendez greeted him in a pristine white lab. Her handshake was firm, professional. We're pushing the boundaries of immersive technology here. So this is what a dating simulator with aliens? Jackson asked, scanning the room filled with equipment he didn't recognize. Dr. Mendez smiled. Think of it as cultural exchange in a romantic context. The simulation creates 3 potential partners based on your psychological profile. Matches who would challenge and complement you. Sounds like expensive therapy, Jackson quipped. Perhaps. Our participants report profound personal growth. She gestured to a reclined chair surrounded by curved monitors and neural interfaces. The headset uses a non-invasive brain-computer interface. You'll experience everything as if it were real. After signing several documents, Jackson settled into the chair. Technicians attached sensors to his temples and wrists. Remember, Dr. Mendez said as the headset lowered, the experience will feel completely real. Your mind will create genuine emotions, but it's all controlled. You can exit by saying, terminate simulation 3 times. Like clicking my heels together, Jackson joked, trying to mask his nervousness. Precisely. We'll monitor your vitals. Enjoy your journey to Thalasia. To where? His question dissolved as the system activated. A rush of sensation overwhelmed him, falling through light, fragments of sound, bursts of color. Then stillness. Jackson opened his eyes to an impossible sky of emerald and violet swirls. He stood on a platform made of what appeared to be flowing metal, overlooking a city of spiraling towers and floating gardens. 2 moons hung low on the horizon. Welcome to Thalasia, Jackson Reed, came a melodic voice behind him. He turned to face a woman. No, not a woman. Her skin shimmered with tiny crystalline formations. Her eyes were completely silver with no pupils, and delicate patterns of light pulsed beneath her skin. She wore flowing garments that seemed to shift between solid and gas. I am Nixari, first consort of the Thalassian triumvirate. You have been chosen. This is ... Jackson whispered, reaching out to touch a nearby plant that reacted to his proximity by blooming instantly. Incredible programming. Nixari tilted her head. Programming? 2 more figures approached, one with skin like burnished copper, who seemed to have miniature storm clouds forming and dissipating around her hands, and another whose green-tinged skin was interwoven with what appeared to be living vines. The human thinks this is a simulation, the storm woman said, her voice carrying a rumble of distant thunder. How charmingly naive, whispered the plant woman, as flowers bloomed and withered in her hair with each word. What do you mean? Jackson asked, a chill running down his spine. This is the Galactic Horizon simulation, right? All three alien women exchanged glances. No, Jackson Reed, Ixari said. There is no simulation. You have been brought here. The bonding ceremony begins at dawn. The first bond. This isn't funny anymore, Jackson said, backing away from the three alien women. His heart raced as he frantically searched for any digital artifacts, screen tearing, rendering glitches, anything to confirm this was just advanced. Virtual reality. Terminate simulation. Terminate simulation. Terminate simulation. Nothing happened. Nixari approached with measured steps, her crystalline skin refracting the emerald light of Thalassia's sky. Your confusion is understandable. The transition can be disorienting. Transition? I didn't agree to any transition. I signed up for a VR test. Jackson's voice echoed across the platform. The storm woman, who had introduced herself as Celestia, crossed her arms, miniature lightning crackling between her fingers. Helix Dynamics is our Earth-based recruitment division. We needed someone with your specific neural pattern. Recruitment? For what? The third woman, Tavia, stepped forward. The vines interwoven through her green-tinged skin pulsed gently. Our world faces extinction without genetic diversity. The triumvirate bond is our Solution 3 Thalassian consorts, joined with one compatible off-worlder. Jackson ran his hands through his hair. So I was ... napped? For breeding? For partnership, Ixari corrected, her silver eyes unblinking. Each potential consort must establish compatibility through a trial. Mine is first. She extended. Her hand, intricate patterns of light, rippling beneath her crystalline skin. Will you accept the challenge of minds? Jackson stared at her outstretched hand. What happens if I refuse? Then you return to Earth with altered memories, Celestia said, the storm clouds around her darkening. Though our scans indicate a 98.7% bond compatibility. Such a waste. Jackson's analytical mind raced through possibilities. If this was real, and every sensory input suggested it was, he was light years from home on an alien planet. If it was an elaborate simulation, well, he'd signed up for it, hadn't he? Fine, he said, taking Nixari's hand. Let's get this over with. Her touch was cool, like polished stone warmed by sunlight. The platform beneath them shimmered and reshaped, forming a circular chamber with walls, displaying star maps and mathematical equations that shifted constantly. My trial tests. Strategic thinking and mental resonance, Nixari explained. We will solve the celestial theorem together. Before Jackson could ask what that meant, the chamber filled with three-dimensional holograms, planetary orbits, gravitational fields, and quantum equations floating in the air. This system is collapsing, she said, manipulating the model with graceful gestures. We must stabilize it. Your perspective will complete mine. Jackson studied the problem. Despite his confusion and anger, his programmer's mind couldn't resist the puzzle. It was like debugging the most complex code he'd ever seen, but with physical laws instead of syntax. The synchronization is off, he muttered, reaching into the hologram. To his surprise, the model responded to his touch. If we adjust the temporal flow here, ... He twisted an equation, watching ripples spread through the system. Nixari nodded, her expression brightening. Yes, and if we then recalibrate the quantum alignment ... She manipulated another section of the model. For hours, they worked in tandem, their minds meeting in the abstract space of mathematics and physics. Jackson forgot his situation, lost in the elegant beauty of problem-solving with someone who understood his thought processes perfectly, when he suggested an unconventional approach to stability by introducing controlled chaos at specific intervals. Nixari's eyes widened. "I would never have considered that," she whispered, watching as the system stabilized in a new configuration. "Your mind works differently than ours. It's beautiful." The genuine wonder in her voice caught Jackson off guard. The hologram between them pulsed with steady, harmonious light. "We've done it," Nixari said softly. "The first bond is forming." Before Jackson could respond, he felt a strange sensation like his consciousness was expanding. Suddenly, he could sense Nixari's emotions. Her scientific curiosity, her duty to her people, but also her loneliness, her fear of failure. "What's happening?" he gasped. "The mental bond," she explained, her voice trembling slightly. "Can you feel it? This is why you were chosen. Our minds are compatible in ways that transcend species." Jackson could indeed feel it, a connection unlike anything he'd experienced. Not intrusive, but complementary, like finding a missing piece of himself he'd never known was absent. "This can't be real," he whispered, but with less conviction than before. Nixari's expression softened. "Reality is often more extraordinary than simulation." Jackson read. She placed a crystalline hand over his heart. "The first bond is complete. You have passed my trial." As the chamber dissolved around them, returning to the platform, Jackson saw Celestia Cantavia waiting. Celestia's storm clouds churned with anticipation. "My trial is next," she announced, lightning dancing in her eyes. "The challenge of courage awaits with tomorrow's dawn." Jackson looked back at Nixari, still feeling echoes of their mental connection. Whatever this was, elaborate hoax, advanced simulation, or impossible reality, he was beginning to suspect that his life would never be the same. Heart of Storm's dawn on Thalassia brought a sky ablaze with crimson and gold, the twin moons fading like pale ghosts against the morning light. Jackson stood at the edge of a vast plateau, the wind whipping his clothes as he gazed at the storm-wreathed mountain range before him. "Impressive, isn't it?" Celestia materialized beside him, her copper skin gleaming in the sunlight. Unlike Nixari's cool, analytical presence, Celestia radiated raw energy. The air around her crackled with electricity, and her eyes shifted between amber and violet like lightning in distant clouds. "Where are we?" Jackson asked, still processing the lingering connection from Nixari's trial. He could feel her presence in his mind, distant but reassuring. "The Tempest Peaks," Celestia said, extending her arms. The storm clouds surrounding. The mountains seemed to pulse in response. "My domain. My trial takes place there." She pointed to the tallest peak, where lightning continuously struck a central spire. Jackson swallowed hard. "Let me guess we're climbing that." Celestia laughed, a sound like thunder rolling across open plains. "Not exactly. The challenge of courage isn't about physical prowess." She fixed him with an intense gaze. "It's about facing what you fear most." Before Jackson could respond, she clasped his hands. The contact sent a jolt through his body, and suddenly they were airborne, carried by currents of wind that responded to Celestia's will. They soared toward the mountains at impossible speed. "I control atmospheric conditions," she explained, They flew. Each Thalassian has unique abilities. Nixari manipulates quantum probabilities. Tavia communes with organic matter. "And what about me? What am I supposed to bring to this partnership?" Jackson shouted over the wind. Celestia's expression grew serious. "Something our world has lost: adaptability, creative thinking, human resilience." They landed on a stone platform halfway up the central peak. Storm clouds churned around them, but a dome of calm air surrounded the platform. "Your species thrives on adversity," Celestia continued. Thalassians have grown too specialized, too perfect. We're dying, Jackson. Each generation fewer children are born. Those who survive lack the adaptability to face changing conditions. 4. The first time, Jackson saw vulnerability beneath her fierce exterior. So, I'm what genetic diversity? Your hope, she corrected. But only if we're truly compatible. She waved her hand, and the calm dome around them pulsed. My trial will reveal that. The air shimmered, and suddenly Jackson was standing in his childhood home. The details were perfect, the worn carpet, the family photos, even the smell of his mother's cooking. How is this possible? He whispered. I've accessed your memory centers through our developing bond. Celestia's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Your greatest fears are rooted here. The scene shifted. Jackson was 10 years old again, hiding in a closet as his parents shouted at each other. The final argument before his father left forever. Stop this, Jackson demanded, but his voice came out small, childlike. The scene changed again. Now he was in college, frozen with panic during a presentation, classmates laughing as he struggled to speak. Then his first job, being fired for a coding mistake that cost the company millions. Each memory twisted into the worst version of itself, amplifying his deepest insecurities. Why are you showing me this? Jackson demanded, fighting to maintain his sense of self amid the parade of failures and rejections. Because courage isn't about fearlessness, Celestia appeared beside him, solid amid the shifting memories. It's about moving forward despite fear. Show me how humans face their demons, Jackson read. Understanding dawned. This wasn't torture, it was a test. With newfound determination, Jackson reached toward the memory of his father leaving. Instead of hiding, he stepped forward, faced the memory directly. This shaped me, he said firmly, but it doesn't define me. One by one, he confronted each memory, acknowledging the fear and pain, but refusing to be controlled by it. As he did, the scenes began to calm, transforming into moments of strength, how he'd rebuilt his life after each setback, the resilience he'd never given himself credit for. The final memory appeared, his lonely apartment, the night before joining the simulation. His greatest fear, living and dying alone, leaving no mark on the world. This is why you came, Celestia said softly. Not just curiosity or money. You were searching for connection. Jackson nodded, unable to deny the truth. Yes, the illusions dissolved. They stood again on the mountain platform, but now the storms around them moved in harmony with Jackson's emotions, responding to him as they did to Celestia. The second bond is forming, she said, wonder in her voice. You've shown more courage than any Thalassian candidate ever has. Lightning arced between them, painless but intense. Jackson felt Celestia's presence join Nixari's in his mind fiery. Passionate, protective. Two distinct connections, neither diminishing the other. I feel ... double quotes Jackson struggled to find words. Whole, Celestia suggested, taking his hand. Where Nixari's touch had been cool and precise, Celestia's burned with intensity. Not yet, he admitted, but more than I was. As they descended the mountain, riding the winds back toward the city, Jackson saw Tavia waiting below, her garden domain spreading around her like a living carpet of impossible plants. The final trial approaches, Celestia murmured. Tavia's challenge of truth is the most difficult. Many fail there. Jackson gazed at the plant woman, whose eyes held ancient wisdom and gentle strength. With Nixari's logic and Celestia's courage now part of him, he felt ready to face whatever came next. I'm beginning to think, he said slowly, that this was never really about my choice at all. Celestia smiled, lightning reflecting in her eyes. The greatest journeys are the ones we don't know we're seeking, until we're already on the path. The whispering gardens, the gardens of Tavia stretched before Jackson like a dream plants, unlike anything on earth, created living. Architecture of impossible colors and forms. Massive flowers opened to reveal rooms within their petals, while luminescent. Vines formed bridges between floating pods of vegetation. The air was thick with sweet fragrances and gentle spores that sparkled as they drifted through shafts of light. "Welcome to my sanctuary," Tavia said, her voice soft as rustling leaves. Unlike the commanding presence of Nixari or the passionate intensity of Celestia, Tavia radiated tranquil wisdom. The living vines intertwined with her green-tinged skin pulsed slowly, like a second circulatory system. "It's beautiful," Jackson admitted, watching as plants seemed to reach toward him as he passed, then respectfully withdraw. "They're curious about you," Tavia explained with a gentle smile. "All life on Thalasia is connected through the planetary consciousness, what we call the verdant mind. But you are something new, something outside the network. Is that what your trial is about? Connecting me to this network?" Tavia shook her head, causing the flowers in her hair to release a soft chime of pollen. "The challenge of truth is more personal. Nixari tested your mind, Celestia your courage. I must examine your heart." She led him deeper into the gardens, to a clearing where a single massive tree stood, its bark translucent, showing flowing sap that glowed with bioluminescence. Its branches reached hundreds of feet into the air, creating a natural cathedral. "The memory arbor," Tavia explained. "It exists simultaneously in past, present, and future." She placed her hand against the trunk, and the tree seemed to pulse in recognition. "Are you ready?" Jackson read. He hesitated. "The bonds with Nixari and—" Celestia hummed in his consciousness. Two distinct but harmonious connections. He could sense their encouragement, their belief in him. "What exactly happens in this trial?" he asked. "Truth," Tavia replied simply. "The tree will show you truth about yourself, about us, about why you're really here. Some find it unbearable." Jackson took a deep breath. "Will it hurt?" Tavia's eyes deep green, with flecks of gold-held compassion. "Truth often does." With resignation, Jackson placed his palm against the tree. Instantly, the world dissolved around him. Unlike Celestia's memory projections, this felt like being unmade, his very atoms separating and rejoining the universal flow of existence. He was everywhere and nowhere, observing multiple realities simultaneously. Jackson saw himself as he had been on Earth, lonely, disconnected, brilliant, but unfulfilled. He watched his life play out in fast forward, saw the emptiness of his routines, the walls he'd built around himself after each disappointment. "This is my life," he whispered into the void. "No," came Tavia's voice, somehow inside his consciousness. "This is the path not taken." The vision shifted. He saw Earth from orbit, beautiful, fragile, and dying. Ecological collapse, resource wars, civilization crumbling. Decades of warnings ignored until it was too late. "Is this the future?" he asked, horrified. "One possible future. Watch." The vision expanded. He saw helix dynamics for what it truly was, a front for Thalassian scientists who had been monitoring Earth for centuries. He saw their desperate search for compatible humans as their own civilization faced extinction from genetic stagnation. He witnessed the selection process. Thousands of human profiles examined, most rejected. He saw his own profile, glowing with potential compatibility markers that made Thalassian scientists gasp with hope. "I was targeted," Jackson realized. This wasn't random at all. "Few meaningful things are random," Tavia's voice whispered. "Keep watching." The vision shifted again. Now he saw Thalasia's history, a civilization millions of years old, one spanning dozens of star systems. Their mastery of biotechnology had led to perfect specialization, each Thalassian engineered for specific roles. But perfection had become stagnation. Without evolutionary pressure, Without diversity, they began to fade. "You're dying out," Jackson murmured. "The triumvirate bond isn't just cultural, it's survival." "Yes, but there's more. Look deeper." The final vision was the most intimate. He saw Nixari, Celestia, and Tavia before his arrival. Their arguments, for and against bringing a human into their bond. Their fears, their hopes. He felt their loneliness, their yearning for connection that transcended duty to their species. "You chose me," he realized. "Not just your scientists, you three specifically requested me. We recognized something in you that matched something in us. A complementary brokenness. A shared longing." The visions receded, and Jackson found himself kneeling before the memory arbor, tears streaming down his face. Tavia knelt beside him, her expression gentle but evaluating. "Now you know the truth," she said softly. "We need you for our species' survival, yes. But Nixari, Celestia, and we want you for who you are. The question is, knowing everything." "What do you want?" Jackson read. It was the first time any of them had truly asked for his choice. The weight of it pressed on him. 2 civilizations, 3 bonds, countless futures hanging in the balance. "I want ... Jackson struggled to articulate the complexity of his feelings. "I want purpose, connection, to be part of something larger than myself." He looked into Tavia's ancient eyes. "I want to know if this bond can become real, not just biological compatibility, but actual ... love." Tavia's smile bloomed like the dawning sun. "That," she whispered, "is the truest answer you could give." She pressed her forehead to his, and the third bond formed different from the previous 2. Where Nixari's was a meeting of minds and Celestia's a harmony of courage, Tavia's connection felt like roots growing into fertile soil, anchoring him to this new world. "The triumvirate is complete," she said, helping him to his feet. "But our journey is just beginning." As they walked back through the living gardens, plants bowed toward them, recognizing the newly formed bond. Jackson felt the 3 distinct presences in his mind: analytical Nixari, passionate Celestia, and nurturing Tavia, each unique, yet somehow forming a balanced whole with him at the center. "What happens now?" he asked as they approached the garden's edge, where Nixari and Celestia waited with barely contained anticipation. Tavia's expression grew serious. "Now we face the council. Not everyone on Thalassia believes humans should be part of our future. Some see Earth as a cautionary tale, not a source of renewal. Is there danger?" "There is always danger when old worlds meet new possibilities," she replied, "but together we are stronger than apart." As Jackson rejoined his 3 alien brides, the full reality of his situation finally settled upon him. This was no simulation. This was his new life, his new purpose, a bridge between worlds. Beyond simulation, the Thalassian High Council chamber resembled a massive geode crystalline walls that shifted colors with the emotional tenor of the debate. Floating platforms arranged in concentric rings, and at the center, a holographic representation of the planet itself, slowly rotating. Jackson stood with his 3 consorts on the witness platform, acutely aware of the hundreds of Thalassian eyes fixed upon him. The council members, 12 in total, represented different evolutionary branches of Thalassian society. Some resembled his consorts, while others were more radically different. One appeared to be made entirely of living metal. Another was nearly transparent, with visible neural networks pulsing beneath the surface. "The triumvirate bonding is unprecedented," announced Counselor Draxus, whose metallic form gleamed under the chamber's lights. "A human has never been successfully integrated into our genetic restoration program, because it's a perversion of our evolutionary path," countered Counselor Viridian, her plant-like features similar to Tavia's, but twisted with disdain. "Humans destroyed their own world. Now they'll contaminate ours." Jackson felt Celestia bristle. Through their bond, storm energies gathering around her fingers. Nixari placed a calming hand on her arm. "If I may address the council," Nixari said, her crystalline voice resonating perfectly in the chamber. "The data is irrefutable. Without genetic diversity, Thalassian birth rates will fall below sustainability within 3 generations. The human genome offers compatibility markers that could reverse our decline." "At what cost?" Meridian demanded. "Our ancestors engineered perfection. This human brings chaos, unpredictability. He brings adaptability," Tavia countered softly. "The very quality we engineered out of ourselves." The debate continued, with scientific arguments and emotional appeals from both sides. Jackson listened, increasingly aware that his presence represented more than just personal choice. He was a living symbol of Thalassia's potential future. Finally, Draxus turned to him. "Human, Jackson Reed, you have remained silent. What defense do you offer for this union?" All eyes turned to him. Through the triple bond, he felt encouragement from his consorts, but also their nervousness. This moment would determine everything. Jackson stepped forward. "Counselors of Thalassia, I came here believing in a simulation. I found reality instead." He gestured to the holographic planet. "Your world is beautiful, advanced beyond anything on Earth. But as someone newly arrived, I can see what you perhaps cannot. You've reached an evolutionary dead end." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The holographic planet flickered momentarily. "On Earth, we have a concept called hybrid vigor," Jackson continued. "When different genetic lines cross, the offspring often exhibit greater strength and resilience than either parent line. Your civilization needs this not just biologically, but culturally. You've achieved perfection at the cost of innovation." He turned to each of his consorts in turn. "Nixari showed me that different thought patterns, working together, can solve problems that neither could alone. Celestia taught me that embracing chaos and fear leads to greater strength than avoiding them. And Tavia revealed that truth, however. Painful is the foundation of genuine connection." Jackson faced the council again. "I'm not asking for your approval of me personally. I'm suggesting that Thalassia's future depends on embracing imperfection, on finding strength in diversity rather than uniformity." Silence fell over the chamber. The holographic planet pulsed with new colors patterns Jackson hadn't seen before. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The hologram shifted, showing a massive spacecraft entering Thalassian orbit. "Proximan vessels," Draxus announced, his metallic features hardening. "They've penetrated our outer defenses." "Impossible." Another counselor protested. "Our planetary shields were designed 10,000 years ago and never adapted." Nixari finished, already analyzing the data streams flowing through the chamber. "The Proximans have evolved their technology, while ours remained static." Chaos erupted as reports flooded in. The Proximans, a rival species from a nearby star system, had launched a surprise attack, exploiting weaknesses in Thalassia's defenses that had gone unaddressed for millennia. "The council chambers are targeted," announced a security officer. Her luminescent skin flashing warning patterns. Without hesitation, Jackson grabbed Nixari's hand. "Can you access their attack vectors? Show me the patterns." Nixari connected to the chamber's systems, projecting tactical displays. Jackson immediately recognized something the Thalassians had missed. "It's a programming loop," he explained rapidly. "They're using your own defense systems against you, a recursive algorithm. That creates a feedback loop in your shields. Can you counter it?" Celestia demanded, already summoning atmospheric defenses. "Yes, but I need direct access to your planetary systems." The council members exchanged alarmed glances. "Give a human access to Thalassia's core systems?" "Unthinkable." Tavia stepped forward. "We have no choice. Trust must begin somewhere." After a tense moment, Draxus authorized the access. Jackson immersed himself in Thalassian code, beautiful, perfect, and utterly predictable. Exactly what the Proximans had exploited. Working with Nixari's quantum understanding, Celestia's intuitive chaos, and Tavia's holistic perspective, Jackson introduced controlled imperfections into the defense. Grid randomization factors that broke the predictable patterns the Proximans were targeting. "It's working," Nixari announced as the enemy ships began to retreat, unable to penetrate the newly chaotic defense grid. Hours later, when the crisis had passed, the Council reconvened. The mood had shifted dramatically. "It seems we have witnessed a demonstration of precisely what you described, Jackson Reed," Draxus acknowledged. "Your human unpredictability saved Thalassian lives today." "The triumvirate bonding is approved," Meridian conceded reluctantly. "But this is merely one case. The larger question of human-Thalassian integration remains open." "As it should," Jackson replied. "True partnership isn't about erasing differences. It's about finding strength in them." Later, as Thalassia's twin, moons rose over the city. Jackson stood with his 3 consorts on the same platform where he had first arrived. The bond between them had deepened through crisis, 4 distinct minds now functioning as a harmonious whole. "Are you still thinking of this as a simulation?" Nixari asked, her crystalline fingers intertwined with his. Jackson smiled. "No, this is more real than anything I've ever known." "And Earth?" Celestia questioned, her storm energies calm but alert. "Do you miss it?" "Parts of it," he admitted. "But we can build bridges between worlds. What Thalassia and Earth both need is balanced technology with wisdom, progress with sustainability." Tavia, who had been communing with the plants, looked up with excitement. "The verdant mind has registered our bond. Already, new patterns are emerging in the ecosystem." As if in response, the platform beneath them sprouted tiny flowers, not purely Thalassian, but new hybrids with characteristics never before seen on the planet. "Life finds a way," Jackson mused, kneeling to examine the blossoms. "Not through perfect design, but through adaptation and connection." The 4 of them stood together under alien stars, the first of many bridges between worlds. For Jackson, Reed, what had begun as an escape into virtual reality had become something far more profound, a journey into genuine connection, purpose, and love across the stars. In that moment, he realized that the greatest simulations were the ones we created ourselves, the comfortable illusions of isolation and predictability. Reality, with all its messy complexity and unexpected bonds, was infinitely more terrifying and beautiful, and he wouldn't have it any other way.